Welcome to the 12 Steps of the Alchemical Process course from innermysteries.org. Today we're going to be going over the 12 steps of alchemy and essentially showing how these 12 steps relate to the seasons, the 12 zodiac, the 12 processes of alchemy and the alchemical lore, and how we go through these stages every year and also on a grander cycle throughout our whole life as we separate the 12 months to the 12 zodiac, to the 12 cranial nerves, to the 12 alchemical processes of the human body. Now, in the ancient school of thought of alchemy, there has been some confusion. Some people say that dissolution is the second step, but we're going to say that that is actually coagulation. Okay. Dissolution should belong to, upon further research, Cancer the crab, and we'll get to that point. But to go through some general terms of alchemy, we'll show that calcination being a purifying fire, separation, separating the authentic from the conditioned, and conjunction, the point of no return. So these are just some figurative speech to show you some of the ideas that'll be carried out in this course. So Aries, March 21st, in the spring, starts out with a bang. We know that the spring equinox is the original new year, and we start our alchemical process in Aries. So if you're watching this course in spring, this is a great time to start the alchemical process because I'm going to teach you how to go through the 12 zodiac, apply it to the inner alchemy from a Jungian perspective as well as a Taoistic transmutation perspective, and understand how the ancients encoded these spiritual evolutionary processes in the lore and all the ancient scriptures. The Bible is alchemy, essentially. The Upanishads is alchemy. The whole system of this universe is alchemy, and God the Creator is considered to be the master alchemist. And within us, our divine spark is the master alchemist of our body, which is the original alchemical laboratory. So, in calcination and alchemy, calcination was believed to be one of the 12 vital processes required for the transformation of a substance. Alchemists distinguish two kinds of calcination, actual and potential. The actual calcination is that brought about by actual fire from wood, coals, or other fuel raised to a certain temperature. So we have to use the crude elements of the physical body and raise them to a certain temperature to begin the purification process. And this is why in initiation, in ceremonial magic, or in Christianity, you always go through this first initiation into the I am consciousness. In the Bible, it says, "Be still and know that I am God." I am is the motto of Aries. I am is the first essence the universe took on upon itself. Before Taurus, I have. Before Gemini, I think. So we have to begin where we started in I am and cross over the first rivers into the water baptism. So, and it's also good to note that the first is the last, just as Jesus says, the first will be the last will be first. Why? Because Adam Kadmon, Pisces being the feet, Aries being the head. Aries is the beginning and the end, the Alpha and the Omega, because when you go through Aries and you go through Pisces, the final stage of the alchemical process, you begin again at Aries, but now you're thrice born or twice born. We got to burn away the ego. This is the fiery stage where impurities are burned away. And physical alchemy involves heating our physical body up and to break it down. And this doesn't mean actually physically heating up. So it doesn't mean like putting on a bunch of clothes, sweating. It's not about sweating or heating up. It's about the inner fire, the astral fire. We have to start activating our astral fire. It's all allegory. It's not talking all about physical stuff. This is talking about our astral fire has to burn away the egos that are attached to the physical animal nature of the body. And that's why the inner sun has to evaporate the waters of the animal astral body in the lunar astral body into the solar astral body. In the same way, the sun takes all the vapors on earth from ice to water to vapor to clouds to lightning to thunder. And that thunder's the immortal. So once you go back up the chain of command, you also go through these small ecosystem activities. And it's once you're aware of it, you can ride the wave. Essentially, what I'm doing is I'm helping you become aware of the fiery initiation that takes place in your life in spring. Bam, boom. And every day at 6 a.m., same thing, spring, boom. And also your youth, your vigor. You have to utilize the time of youth to prepare for the time that after you die from this world, you will be resurrected in Aries on the other side. And you will begin your journey again in Aries, cardinal fire, in the spirit world, resurrected. So we will have to go through how the sine wave can be seen from coming down or up. And it depends on what key you're using, right? So calcination, we separate the fixed from the volatile. We become aware that we are souls entombed in matter, that matter in the physical realm is a state of inertic death to the soul, and that you were once fully live, vibrant, living in the spirit realm in an unlimited nature, and now have become limited by the 7 planets and the 12 zodiac into a physical body, not imprisoned, but entombed and imprisoned were just figures of speech because of the separation and difference of the level of activity. Now, don't forget that without this experience in the physical body, you wouldn't be able to extract the alchemical waters and the alchemical earth into the astral body to carry it forth to become a personal point of consciousness, of self awareness and form. You actually do have a form in the astral realm and the celestial planes. So you have to acquire that form by descending into the physical realm, separating from Adam and Eve. You have an Adam and an Eve. If you're male, you're Adam. If you're female, you're Eve. They separate and descend into the physical realm via the astral vortexes and take upon the 7 garments of the 7 planets, both vice and virtue, and now have to utilize all of these elements, come down into the realm of the elements and become the purifying spirit fire to lift out the drossness from those elements, extract the essence, and move on to higher planes of consciousness. So it's called the cycle of necessity because we are in the laboratory of the great alchemist, essentially. So calcination being a thermal process that involves heating a solid substance to a high temperature without melting it. The goal of calcination is to alter the chemical or physical properties of the substance. Reconnecting with one's natural state of being, the I am essence. Practice this meditation taught in the Bible. Be still and know that I am God. What does that mean? To still the physical body, to subdue the senses, the personality, and all the physical, the sensual input, and then simply rest in the abode of the I am consciousness because you have to cross that portal in order to get to God's throne. Awareness of the automated instinctual energy and beginning to transmute them through awareness. So you begin to take notice of the animal soul and its activities and what it's trying to do in order to raise it up. Then you reach the second stage of the alchemical process, which is coagulation, Taurus. This is all about crystallization, materialization, matter being the negative polarity of spirit. So this is a spiritual realm just negatively polarized. So we materialize, we crystallize, we gain form in order to maintain form, to be able to withstand any fire, referring to the astral fires of purgatory. Freezing, that is another occult term for physical incarnation, spirit becoming matter. Realizing and meditating on the motto, I have. So begin in Aries with I am, and then in Taurus, I have. This is the chain of command. Congelation, we take the fixed and the volatile and make them inseparable. State of awareness becomes fixed. This is on your spiritual journey where, and first you become the baptism of fire of Aries. All right, that's initiation, the baptism of fire. Earth is when you're born. Water is when you realize you have a soul and there's truth. Air is when you begin to take control of your thoughts. Fire is when you begin, oh, I am. And this state in Taurus becomes fixed and permanent because at first you have ups and downs, right? In the second stage, this becomes fixed. Once you go to this state of consciousness, you can't go back. Taurus rules the larynx of the throat. This is where the word was made flesh. We go from I am to feeling of being to speaking and creating sound. That's why when you have a baby, the baby first is I am, and then it starts making sounds. And those sounds are representative of Taurus because the word became flesh. That word, the I am, becomes flesh and now becomes a sound. And that sound is what is the logos in the supreme sense of the word. That sound was the emanation from the Father who's in secret, and he emanated that sound, and that word and logos is divine reason. And that divine reason is what structured and created all souls. We begin again to recognize that we're cut from the same cloth, that we have a voice and we have to speak the word. The word also manifests as the small hum or the small high pitched noise heard in the head, in between the ears, in the abodes of silence. So when you be still, practice the I am meditation, search for the sound. This is the second part of initiation and the second part of the alchemical process ruled by Taurus, congelation. The word also manifests as the divine word that is seen in a lot of ancient text through holy people that are speaking the truth, and developing clairaudience, which allows them to have the ability to hear the music of the spheres and the astral tones and chimes. And if you get into Swedenborg or Eliphas Levi or some of Thomas H. Burgoyne, then you'll know that they've explored some of these inner planes and explained that the astral tones and the chimes of the astral world are more magnified, more beautiful, and more toned than anything we've ever heard in this physical realm. We're then moving into the final spring month of Gemini, fixation. Fixing the volatile is an ongoing process, the moment of blackness throughout whiteness, and with the redness, fixation has attained its maximum degree. And this is where we align thoughts, feelings, and action. And Gemini's motto is I think. So we begin to master the thinking of the thinking meditation of thought control taught by Franz Bard in Initiation to Hermetics. And we start with observing the thoughts as they are for 10 minutes, 10 times. Just following your train of thoughts like clouds passing by. You're not trying to stop them. You're not trying to specifically follow them. What you're trying to do is to not lose your train of thought. So if you lose awareness, then it doesn't count. Then you move on to only thinking of one specific thought or idea, and then only thinking about it for a matter of 10 minutes, and do this for 10 times. So you can't stray away from this one thought. In the first exercise, you could have many thoughts. In the second, only one. And in the third, go to void of thought. So take no thought, as Jesus said, take no thought, and be able to only have no thoughts for 10 minutes, 10 times. And this is how you can activate the Geminian energy within you. So, in separation, the refined liquid is divided to isolate the essential elements from the unnecessary ones. On a spiritual level, it represents discerning what is truly valuable in your life, your inner virtues, and leaving behind what no longer serves you. Gemini's dual nature mirrors the sorting process and the finding of balance. In alchemy, fixation is a process by which a previously volatile substance is transformed into a form, often solid, that is not affected by fire. It separates the substance or object and puts it back in the same or different shape at a subatomic level. We become materialized and enter duality as we leave the Garden of Eden. As the consciousness illuminates the subconscious mind, conscious mind being Adam, the subconscious mind being Eve, the tendencies and aggregates of the psyche are recognized as they are. By self-remembering and making ourselves conscious, by holding fast to the sense of I am, we are able to better comprehend our mechanical nature. We can learn to take back control of the mind and body and become less reactive. Krishna says that the soul is above the mind and intelligence. Our soul must rule over our mind and intellect. Instead of being the effect of our surroundings, we could become the cause of phenomena related to our personal lives. By comprehending our inner reasoning for doing things and acting out in a particular manner, we could become more tolerant and understanding of those around us. Self reflection is a process corresponding to the influence of the Geminian twins. Gemini represents the split of the monad into male and female, as well as the dual aspects of the consciousness, the witness and the witnessed. Gemini also relates to the conscious mind's relationship with the subconscious mind. Our consciousness is mirrored onto itself. The conscious mind is the male suspect, is the male aspect, and the subconscious mind is the female receptive aspect. Both are products and under control of the superconscious mind or the oversoul. Normally, we experience life as the one who experiences, or the subject. Self observation breaks the illusion, and we realize and understand what we are, the witness, the observer of that which experiences. Once the two are separated, a deeper comprehension is reached, and we understand that we are both, the observer and the observed, and we can live life consciously living in both states. We begin to watch ourselves from an objective standpoint, here in which the I am presence begins to crystallize, and we become less reactive to our emotions or outer phenomena, which normally would have an effect on our moods and actions. We begin to step outside of the subjective reasoning and find objective reality, or that which is, and find that I am that is forever and always was. Now, dissolution, we're getting into Cancer the crab, ruled as the alchemical process of dissolution. And as you go through these alchemical processes, make sure you do each one that, each one is a lunar cycle from sign to sign, and meditate on one of these alchemical pictures. Just go to Google and type, dissolution alchemical picture or calcination alchemical picture, and meditate on these symbols at least, and meditate on them and try to dive into the picture. Try to have the pictures imprint on your subconscious mind ideas and begin to become receptive to them. And I'm not going to tell you what you'll find or what you should seek because that is a personal journey. So, in dissolution ruled by Cancer the crab, we have to turn our awareness inward and begin to light up within. We have to withdraw into our shell, withdraw the senses, withdraw the limbs, like the tortoise withdraws his limbs into his shell. And this will light up and turn the light around into lighting up the inner plane. Turning the light around and exploring the inner worlds. And as you can see the man drowning in the water, you can see that as you're diving into the astral waters or the inner plane, it can get a little, you have to make sure you're next to shore. Stay balanced, don't get lost at sea, right? Don't get drowned in the waters of the astral. Strong thoughts and desires are hidden aspects of our personality that is now brought to the surface for illumination. By unifying opposing energies, we generate more energy flow and vitality to our whole being. And it's also recommended that during these 12 alchemical aspects of your journey, to keep a journal and notate what stage you're in, what you experience, the motto of the stage. Okay, so find the 12 mottos of the zodiac and you will meditate on those, and then the 12 pictures of the alchemical process, one for each. And then just begin to document the dreams that you have, because this is going to activate your inner. By this stage of the alchemical process, you will have more meaningful, vibrant dreams that you have to make sure that you're paying attention to. A process of freeing oneself from inauthentic sense of identity, no longer identifying with this physical body, but also identifying with your seven higher bodies. It's not about identifying with nothingness. It's about identifying that you have seven other spiritual vehicles that need to be made conscious of. A transformation of a substance by immersing it in liquid, which is what happens when we come down the astral vortex. So I explain that the 12 alchemical processes happen primordially and postmortally, and then primordially again. You always have to go through these 12. So a transformation of a substance by immersing it in liquid, we break down and separate our bodies into separate elements and work on them individually before putting them back together. We immerse ourselves in the water of the divine spirit and become baptized in truth. We become established in Brahman and take no thought and merge with the witness. Then we move to the next stage of Leo, the lion, August, when the sun is blazing at 12 noon. The transfiguration of Jesus into a spiritual body. This is moving from the astral body initiation into the spiritual body of the celestial body. And the whole process of alchemy is ruled by Leo the lion, the heart, because the whole process is ruled by the heart, because Krishna or Christ or the Lord is enthroned in the heart and is the personal point of consciousness that has now been created. Practice the 6 Rudolf Steiner exercises to open the 6 petals of the heart chakra, and know that the digestion process of Leo rules the whole 12 zodiacal processes, and that digestion is taking place the whole time. And digestion is a process in which gentle heat is applied to a substance. Sounds just like the first stage, over a period of several weeks. This was traditionally performed by sealing a sample of the substance in a flask and keeping the flask in fresh horse dung, or sometimes in direct sunlight. We have to learn to develop the heart chakra, enter into the astral plane, become the conquering lion of Judah, to personify and now exemplify the sun and summer blazing forth like a lion and transforming matter into spirit. So every day at 12 noon, do a chakra meditation on the heart. Oh. Leo, digestion. The process of digestion was a part of the series of chemical operation known as the alchemical magnum opus. Each operation was sometimes assigned to a zodiac sign as a form of cryptography. For example, digestion was assigned to the sign of Leo. In alchemy, digestion is a core process that involves applying the gentle heat to a substance over a period of weeks. Then we go to the process of Virgo, distillation, the symbolic process of how a base substance is transformed into a higher substance through an ascending movement. The action of purifying a liquid by a process of heating and cooling, the extraction of the essential meaning or the most important aspects of something. The spinal column is our personal distillery. This is where the water is turned into wine, where matter is transmuted into spirit. Our inner spiritual thermometer, which rises in accordance to the merits of the heart. We have to apply the subtle fire and vaporize these energies up the spine in a similar way that the sun vaporizes water from ponds, lakes, and streams and other water sources into clouds, and then lightning is formed, and then thunder. This is how the soul acquires its higher spiritual bodies. Knowing the law of correspondence as within, so without, and being able to pierce into the mysteries and extract the essential meaning hidden within nature, within text, within movies, within life situations. We understand that we have to extract the essential meaning, and this is the same way that we have to extract the transmuted matter that was transmuted into spirit. And this is the same exact process that the Taoists speak of in Qigong when they transmute the lower energies into the higher energies of Shin. This is where we build up pressure to open the pineal gland, and we will begin to hear the thunder of crackling that is explained in the body as the heavens opened up and we heard a trumpet. Now, the trumpet is the hum sound in your head that you hear in between the temples. The cracking and thunder is when the pineal gland, which is a crystalline pine cone structure, begins to open and you feel this gristling. Then we reach sublimation of Libra, purification of the matter by means of dissolution and reduction to its principles, further purification, observation of the automated habits from moment to moment, taking control of the instinctual energy and strengthening the chi, the energies of the kidneys. kidneys are ruled by Libra, as they are the balancing factors of the body. And this is where we begin to balance our debts within that we've made to others and to ourselves, because the truth about karma is that we're not paying for what we did in a past life. We're paying for what we did in this life. And our astral structure is what attracts the events and circumstances of this life, and also determines your state after death in the astral plane or the spiritual plane. This is where we begin to learn the truth that we do have to face ourselves, and that the only thing that is going to balance our scale is goodness, and truth and goodness is power alone. And without truth and goodness, which is the Christ, we have no chance against our debts. In alchemy, sublimation is a process that involves heating a substance until it vapors, which then collects as a residue on the walls of the heating vessel. Alchemists use sublimation to describe the exchange of bodies and spirits. In physics, sublimation is a process of a substance changing from a solid to a gas without becoming a liquid. An example of sublimation is when dry ice vaporizes at normal atmospheric pressure and temperature. The pure is separated from the impure. As we can see, the solid or the ice cube going straight into gas form, essentially skipping a process, showing that with proper purity and goodness and balancing of the scales of Ma'at, the 10 Commandments and the 42 laws of Ma'at, we can just pass straight through the astral plane into the higher forms. Then we reach separation of Scorpio, extracting the pure essence from a mixture associated with the element of air, a liberating stage where one can free themselves from negative emotions, the sine wave or the sin of Eve or the wave. This separation happens when the matter becomes black. Then the separation of the elements begin. That blackness changes into vapor. This is the earth that becomes water. Water condenses and falls back onto earth and makes it white. That whiteness is the air. After whiteness, redness comes. Air becomes fire. The separation is not different from the dissolution of the body and the congelation of the spirit. In alchemy, separation is the process of dividing parts from each other. It can involve separating subtle from the gross, separating thick from thin, turning earth into water and then air, turning air into fire, dividing water into two parts, dispersion of the four elements, drawing out phlegm with patience, turning all into one thing. The true self and the apparent self. We are body and spirit. We have an unconsciousness and a conscious. We have male and female, high and low. Moses parts the Red Sea. These ideas that I'm portraying must penetrate into your consciousness and are supposed to bring ideas to the surface from your own reflective contemplation. As we reach the stage of incineration of Sagittarius, the divine awareness becomes fully fixed in the body, utilizing the sacred fire to burn away impurities. The ability to utilize the astrolite that Eliphas Levi spoke of to help others or sanctify objects. Closely related to calcination, both fire signs, Aries and Sagittarius. So a lot of the fire processes are similar due to the law of similarity, but they all have a different purpose and outcome. To incinerate is to purify by fire, and then purify by fire again. This is when we're actually transmuting through the tantric mysteries and transmuting through male and female. And after we've already had a child or a family, that we're beginning to purify that fire and incinerate the inner energies to vaporize and to stabilize the inner dragon so that that fire continually keeps afloat and keeps lit the altar in the head. Just like the Zoroastrians say, always keep the lantern lit, always keep the fire lit. Because you always have to keep your pineal gland lit by keeping within the fires. Fermentation is the process of rebirth ruled by Capricorn. It is both the death of our old self and the beginning stages of the birth of our highest self. Through inner peace, stillness, and introspection. Jesus said, "Don't put new wine in old bottles. Put on the new higher self and ditch the lower egoic personality." Born again. Christianity is alchemy. There is no separation on the schools of thought at their foundations. So, this is when we begin to practice utilizing God forms, and we should put on the Christic armor and imagine that every day when we're putting on our clothes, that we're putting on the garments of the celestial kingdoms, and that every time that we imagine ourselves to step in to our higher self and to ditch the lower self and put on the new higher self, as Jesus said, and not to put our old ways and our old habits and mix them in to our new alchemical vessel. The decay of the old self and the rebirth of the true self. This stage involves letting go of ego influences and impurities and developing a higher vision of perfection. Aquarius is multiplication. It's actually redoing the whole process, but starting from a more perfected level. In the later stages of life, we redo earlier processes and become even more whole, more perfected, and more consciously immortal. We are able to replicate the processes and experiment from a more of an exalted state than just figuring it out on the path in the beginning, because we now have life experience. The spirit of Aquarius will enlighten you, and you can know all things with the occult keys of correspondence and analogy. The two keys of occult science are correspondence and analogy. With these two keys, you can see the chain of anything and understand all things. Pisces is projection. At the end, one will project themselves inward and upward into the created subtle body to inhabit after the physical body is deceased. The power to change impure metals into gold and to cure people of spiritual sins and to help heal and to activate the soul in others. And this is all done through the spirit of the Logos, which is Christ. So, Christ is the inner alchemical fire, a being, an actual person of love, light, and wisdom, who is the purifying fire of truth for all beings on earth, regardless of what religion you're in. Bodhicitta is compassion. Christ is compassion. Christ is divine reason. And anything that we have cultivated with these two things have been in his name through Christ, because Christ is a transcendental being that is the salvation or the salve agent for the soul to cross over through both faith and works. And once we acquire this access and we find the Christ within ourselves, as Christ said, I and the Father me, and I and you, we activate the ability to actually transmute the impure souls of other people into higher nature. We can actually cure people of spiritual sins and to help heal and activate the soul in others. This is a sacred duty. As a result of the projection, there is an unconscious link between the psyche and the arcane substance, the spirit imprisoned in matter. Albedo, the whitening stage, where impurities are washed away and clarity is brought to the first matter. Rubedo, the reddening stage, where passion is discovered. Crintonitis, the yellowing stage, where goldness of life is appreciated. Ruled by the seven: Sun gold, Moon silver, Venus copper, Mercury, Mars iron, Jupiter tin, and Saturn lead. So we have to transmute the lead, the personality, the physical body. Jupiter, our ability of enthusiasm, our ability of luck, our ability of jolliness. Mars, our fierceness, anger, instinctual energy, the heat. We have to learn how to have anger, but we have to learn how to utilize it in between justice and mercy. Mercury, communication and intelligence. Venus, beauty, sensuality. Moon, the reproductive, the astral body, the divine mother, the intuitive faculties, and then the sun. Of course, the soul, the gold, gold of the spirit. The That's why the sun is the tarot card, the new sun, right? It's a new sun. You have the sun and the moon come together, and then they create an earth, and then from the earth, the new sun, the child, right? The child is the one, and that is become as little children to enter the kingdom of heaven, because we have to renew our minds into innocence. And this is all understood through understanding this sine wave, this chromatic will, and understanding that this alchemical process is an eternal process, and understanding also that once all 12, the 13th becomes apparent, that as George W. Carey stated in God, Man, Word Made Flesh, the 13th sign is the sun. We have the 12, we have the 12 cell salts, and we have the 13, which is the blood, because the 12 cell salts create and nourish the blood, and the blood is the 13th. The sun is the 13th sign. Or not the 13th sign, but the sun itself is 13. 13 is the outcome. The witness is 13, and the 12 cranial nerves. You have the 12 cranial nerves, and you have the optic thalamus, 13. Jesus is the 13th. And that's the significance of that. But 13 is only to be seen as an outcome. And that's why 12 is in the Bible, 12 months, 12 tribes, 12 zodiac, 12 stones, because the 13 is you. So I hope you've enjoyed this course, and know that the other courses are supplementary to this, and that all the videos on my YouTube channel must be also watched, that are for free to the public, to have a thorough understanding of this entire process. So thank you so much. Bye.